Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:07 now on O'Connor and Company, a Friday morning. Coming up at 8:05, Jane Hampton Cook, presidential historian. She has a story to tell about how she wasn't woke enough for the Smithsonian because she wanted to highlight and celebrate Susan B. Anthony. Well, Susan B. Anthony, she's not woke enough. She wanted to protect babies in the womb. Can't have that. Who's really erasing history? We'll talk to Jane Hampton Cook. And then at 8:35, Judge Janine, your U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka.
Happy Friday, Larry, and everybody. I'm feeling it today.
And a happy Friday to everyone who came out to that Arlington County School Board meeting last night that we talked about quite a bit. I'd like to think that we had a hand in getting the great turnout. And also the fact that Winsome Sears was there, speaking up on behalf of the women, the daughters, the sisters, the mothers of Arlington County. Take a listen to just part of her remarks.
This is not theoretical. Right here in Arlington, a convicted child sex offender walked into a high school girls' locker room and exposed himself to young girls. That is the reality. That is the danger. And it's about keeping schools focused on reading, writing, and math, not ideology.
Now, listeners of this program know exactly who she's talking about. That would be Richard Cox, convicted sex offender, who was able to go into that locker room and expose himself to little girls because of the policies of the Arlington County School Board, policies that remain in place today. Joining us right now is a mother, Jen McDougal. She was at the meeting last night. And Mrs. McDougal, thank you for joining us. I'm told that it was your daughter who was one of the victims of Richard Cox in that locker room. Is that correct?
That's correct. My daughter and I both walked into the locker room to see Richard Cox not really changing, drying off after a shower.
Ugh.
It's so sick.
First of all, I'm so sorry that you and your daughter had to endure that. And when you found out that this was because of the policies the school board has in place surrounding transgender activists, what did you do? What have you done since then?
Well, to set the scene, we first walked into the locker room, and it was like super quiet. Most of the parents and children that were in there were several, many, and everyone sort of very quietly was trying to change and leave because the air there is that this is acceptable, but nowhere when we went in was there a policy posted that this was a universal changing room, locker room.
Right.
And so we approached the school management for clarification after we left, actually. This was the second visit back. We came back, we approached school management, and they said, yeah, this guy has been here. We know who you're talking about. And he's been here since probably early summer. And so he's been coming in on a regular basis for months. And this was the first day of the swim class of the session, so I'm sure that some of the parents in the room were not prepared for this.
Right.
But
who would be?
Right. So because there's such a backlash for speaking out about this, we've seen this just recently in Loudoun County. There's such a backlash for speaking out about this that we really didn't know what to do. So I did go to the school board. I requested a private session with a school board member. And she listened to my story and, said she was very sorry for what happened. I gave her a written copy of my statement, and then it wasn't until a month later that we heard Richard Cox's name for the first time. And then it was another couple of months after that, in December, when he was arrested.
Yeah. And as of now, so they said, we're really sorry this happened to you, but they have not changed their policy.
Oh, the policy hasn't changed at all. We did ask that they post signage that said that this was a gender-inclusive restroom or changing room because we didn't know that.
Yeah.
And they have done that, which I think if they're gonna have these policies, they need to make sure that they're transparent so that everyone can see and make decisions on whether they're going to enter those kind of facilities or not. We've chosen not to attend those swim classes anymore through Arlington Public Schools or Arlington County.
Yeah. Well, so Jen, you were at the Arlington School Board meeting and you're able to speak. I would just love for you to share with us, what was the energy in the room? Do you think there was an equal balance of supporters of your position or supporters of the school board? Or do you think it was really imbalanced? I mean, I would like to believe that, even parents who may, disagree politically could be all on board saying, no, these policies are damaging to our daughters.
I was one of the earlier speakers. I spoke third in a list of, I want to say 15 or 30. I lost sort of count.
Wow.
But I'm going to say 30 speakers, I think, was permitted. I read my statement and I left afterward. I got a little bit emotional. And I would say 1 out of 4 of those statements that were made during public comment were in favor of keeping the transgender policy in place. And the other speakers, of course, were Winsome Sears came in to speak about her, disinterest and disapproval of the policy.
Yeah.
And also there was a local psychologist who spoke, and another college student who spoke as well to say, girls and boys shouldn't be sharing locker rooms, shouldn't be sharing sports teams. It was nice to have the support there, but this is Arlington County, and it's a very liberal county, and I expected to see what I saw. I did not expect the large gathering out front, but I believe that the attendance of the lieutenant governor had a lot to do with that. And I'm so glad she came. I was very excited to see her.
Does it surprise you that Abigail Spanberger hasn't spoken out about this one way or the other? I mean, listen, you're right. Arlington and Northern Virginia and Fairfax, it's a majority Democrat and relatively liberal and, inclusive. These policies didn't come out of nowhere. These policies came because the people of these counties voted for these representatives on the school board. So I would think that Abigail Spanberger, her position, if she's in favor of these policies, then great. She's speaking to the voters of these areas, right? But she hasn't said anything one way or the other.
I think it's kind of interesting. She's just like the counties who are holding fast to what their policies are now. I think she's just kind of waiting for guidance from others to find out what she's supposed to say.
Wow, that's a real indictment for somebody who wants to be the governor and leader of the state, I would say. Again, I'm sorry that you and your daughter and all the women who have had to deal with this trauma, and it would be traumatizing. I'd be traumatized.
Yes.
Have had to deal with this, and I appreciate your courage. I know that there are a lot of other women who have been in the same place, and their daughters have been in the same place, and they are not speaking up for various reasons, and you are out there and you are fighting, and you deserve praise for that because I know how hard it is. So thank you very much for sharing your story.
Thanks very much. I appreciate you giving me time today.
You bet. That's Jen McDougal. If our media in this town had any credibility and any dignity, Jen McDougal would be telling her story all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they seem to just not really care, or they're just as intimidated and scared to draw this story out as well. It's 7:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news.
A quick cleanup here, housekeeping. About 20 minutes ago, we told the story of Ian Sams, senior advisor to Joe Biden, spokesperson who testified to James Comer's Oversight Committee about what he knew about President Biden's condition, and he revealed that he had only met Biden twice in 2.5 years of working there. I just referred to him as a senior advisor and spokesperson. I left out a key element here. He was the spokesperson for the White House counsel's office.
Ah, okay.
The lawyers, the legal advisors for the president and for the White House. That sort of amps up the importance of his role and his job and his potential culpability in all of this. He's a lawyer himself, I believe, and so I just wanted to make sure that it's actually worse than we had originally laid out. All right, last night, President Trump decided to take to the streets of D.C. and did a bit of a ride-along, I guess, and go on patrol with law enforcement who are enacting his policies to keep the streets safer and actually enforce crime. I want to remind you that Judge Janine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the district, is going to join us at 8:35.
Yes.
I thought, it was going to be like a Bad Boys situation where he was going to like go.
That's what I was looking for. I thought he'd have a jacket, a hat. I thought he'd have a vest, be wearing a flak jacket.
Collar some of the perps. Absolutely.
With the real handcuffs.
Put his knee on his back as he's frisking him. Yeah, no.
Could you imagine?
Exactly. He wanted to thank all the cops, the federal agents, the National Guard, and he brought him a bunch of pizzas from Wise Guys, like a ton of pizzas from Wise Guy Pizza. So, Wise Guy Pizza had a good night last night. Here's a little bit of what the president had to say.
You people are winners, and I just think it's such an honor to be with you, and we're going to make Washington, D.C. great again. We're making our country great again. The country is very close to being great. When they say it's the hottest country in the world, they mean it. And this capital is right now, after 5 days, it's at a level that you haven't seen in a long time, and it's all because of you. So I want to thank you all very much. It's an honor to be with you, and we'll always be with you. We're going to be with you for as long as I'm around. You're going to be treated as nobody more important, and thank you all very much for being here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
There were also some high-profile members of the Department of Justice there as well, including Judge Janine, our guest coming up, and Leo Terrell. It's when you look at, so I was downtown last night. I met some friends for dinner last night, and it really is different. Not only is it cleaner, obviously, and there are fewer people, just vagrants and just sort of people. In D.C., oftentimes you just see a bunch of, especially certain neighborhoods, you just like a bunch of people just loitering on the corner, just hanging out. And that didn't see that at all. And by the way, maybe it's because of ICE and the threat of apprehension and deportation, but the traffic wasn't as bad. I mean, I found a parking spot pretty easily down near the restaurant.
But it also is like Congress is not in session. It's August
That's
recess. True. Like K Street is, they're working from home if they're working So let's see what happens in about a week.
Yeah.
Or two.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But, and people are sharing pictures of Union Station that looks so pristine again.
Yes.
Such a gorgeous building. And it was, people avoided it. People wouldn't go to the Union. In fact, it's funny. I booked a train. I'm taking the train up to Connecticut this weekend to visit my daughter. And I purposely, I can go to Union Station or I can go to BWI and pick up the Amtrak there. I purposefully, when I booked these tickets about 6 weeks ago, I booked it at BWI because I didn't want to deal with Union Station.
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with the neighborhood. Meredith, my wife of 10 years, thank you, from yesterday, she used to work right down behind Union Station. She worked for Roll Call when their building was right next to CNN, which is right behind Union Station.
Yeah.
And she would take the red line from where we lived in Bethesda area down to Union Station and get off there to walk. And that walk from Union Station to her building, just 2 blocks behind Union Station, sometimes was terrifying for her. I mean,
because you had
she's a tough girl from Oklahoma, but she's not allowed to carry and protect herself like she does in Oklahoma.
Well, a few of us, when we were living in the city, we figured out ways around that law. I'll just leave it at that. But no, I mean, Union Station, you had the crazies who would be yelling at you, pulling down their pants in front of you, and then the ones who were loitering there, talking to each other, fighting with each other, and you never knew whether you, as a random person jumping to catch your train or catch an Amtrak train, would be caught in the crossfire. So it's good to see that whole area gets cleaned up. I hope it stays cleaned up, and I hope Mayor Bowser decides to not play both sides of the fence, but actually accept the help and figure out ways to get the D.C. Council to enact some permanent policies and some permanent reforms and changes, because, the worst thing that could happen is for this to be short-sighted, and then all of the young people who are, I don't know where they're hiding right now, but they just come flooding back out onto the streets and bringing mayhem with them.
Well, listen, we mentioned it yesterday, and as far as I know, I checked the news reports. I did not hear of a homicide last night. So we're now
still zero for a week.
We're now going on 9 days in a row in the middle of summer which is oftentimes,
Yes.
increased violent crime in D.C. and every major city, really. We're now going on, I believe, 9 days without a homicide, which is a record. That's like since they've been keeping those numbers. It's something to behold. But no, the fascists, the jackbooted thugs, we get your troops out of here, you Gestapo.
You know what? That's
Please.
one fewer mom who's crying for their child, right,
Amen.
Larry? That's like,
right.
Finally.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7:37, O'Connor and Company, and we have a busy 90 minutes ahead of us here, starting at 8:05 with Jane Hampton Cook. She's presidential historian, friend of the program, and she has her own story about how the Smithsonian informed her that she was not woke enough for their version of history. And then at 8:35, your U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Judge Jeanine Pirro. She's a firecracker, that woman. I'm Larry O'Connor,
Yes,
alongside.
she is. Well, her
Patrice
last name is
Onwuka.
Pirro.
Yeah, Pirro. Good morning, Patrice.
Happy Friday, Larry.
Same to you.
Oh.
You have...
I thought that was my walk-in music. I was going to dance in my ball
you are,
gown.
in fact, a Disney princess.
I always wanted
have
to be
young,
one, honestly.
I bet you have. You have young boys.
Yes.
Do they watch a lot of Disney content?
No.
Are they interested in Disney content?
No.
See,
Except
now that's
Star
weird.
Wars.
Star Wars, okay. So they like the old school Star Wars. Yeah, see, I raised 2 girls, 2 boys, and now my youngest is 18, which is about 15 years older than your youngest, right? Mm-hmm. And they watched a lot of Disney content. The girls especially. Oh, my gosh. My 2 girls, when they were 3 and 4.5, both dressed as Belle for Halloween. Because they were fighting. It's like, no, I want to be Belle. I want to be Belle. I said, honey, girls, you can both be Belle. And so they both had their gold dresses. It was great. They loved Beauty and the Beast. They loved Jasmine from Aladdin. They loved Mulan. Mm-hmm. And let's face it, the Disney Princess franchise was brilliant. Really got the female audience, right? I mean, they had it. They had the little girls. They had the moms of the little girls. They loved it. So then Disney, of course, acquired Marvel Comics and all the superhero franchises. They acquired Star Wars, as you just pointed out. People forget they acquired 20th Century Fox, which means they also acquired Indiana Jones. Basically, these are 3 great movie franchises.
Absolutely.
And they're kind of male-oriented. Like, it's a no-brainer. You don't even have to do any hard sell. It's like, Star Wars, boys are going to go. Oh,
absolutely.
Iron Man, boys are going to go. All right? Captain America, count me in. It's like flash forward to today. Here's the headline from Variety. Leadership at Disney is pressing Hollywood creatives for movies that will bring young men aged 13 to 28 back to the brand in a meaningful way, specifically original concepts. Sources say Disney has been seeking new intellectual property and pitches such as splashy global adventures and treasure hunts, as well as seasonal fare like films for the Halloween corridor. The calls come as the Star Wars machine struggles to produce any film project, and the superhero genre sheds audiences by the minute. So in other words, they're desperate to build a new franchise that will appeal to men and young boys. Meanwhile, they had the greatest franchises that appealed to men and boys, and they ruined them because they feminized them.
They wokeified them. They turned they turned the big masculine hero who saves the day into a mealy mouth, whiny, weak-kneed, wishy-washy, identity crisis every day kind of guy. So obviously boys are not drawn to that. I mean, listen, I'm looking at all of the Marvel comics. Black Panther, Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man, the Avengers. Listen, my family, we rarely go to the movies because my kids are still a little younger. However, we have finally gotten to the point where my youngest can sit through a movie. And you know what he loves to see? He loves to see lasers and shooting. That's what Disney needs to lean into. It's not that hard. Lasers and shooting and men being men. And women can be women too, but let men be men, and you will get your boys back.
There's an iconic photograph of Kathleen Kennedy, the woman who took over the Star Wars franchise when Disney acquired it from George Lucas. And she had been, I think, associate producer of the original movies. She worked with George Lucas back in the early days. She became the successor to George Lucas. There's an iconic photograph of her and 3 other executives in her team. And they're all wearing T-shirts. I think it's at The Force Awakens, one of the movies. They're all wearing T-shirts, and it says, "The Force is female."
Oh.
Have you seen this? And it's like it perfectly represents everything that was wrong with what they did to the movies. And by the way, I listen, first of all, I applaud them for recognizing that some things appeal to women and some things appeal to men, because I've been told that there's no difference between men and women. Right? But secondarily, to say the Force is female sort of overlooks the whole mythology of the Force and what Star Wars was built on. And to suggest that in some way it needed to be fixed because it was too masculine, well, they didn't fix it. They ruined it. They ruined it because they changed. It's almost like the people in charge of these franchises hate the franchise. Just like we talked about this with Cracker Barrel. You know, hey, do you like Star Wars? No, I never really liked Star Wars. I think it's too masculine. Oh, great. We want to hire you and put you in charge of Star Wars. Put you
in charge of fixing. Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when, you've got this agenda that is all about parity, about equity, ensuring that there's no difference between men and women, not respecting the differences. Okay, thanks, Heather, for putting that picture in there. Yeah,
there it is.
They want so badly for women to be men, and they're fine with men being women too, but they want that to erase the differences in our minds, and they've used culture in this way, pop culture and specifically movies, to do so, and it's backfired because I think God put something very unique in us, and there's women are nurturing, there's a femininity about us, and it's fine to embrace that, and there's something about the protective hunter-gatherer spirit that men have, and there's something about putting that on screen that when you see it, it ignites something inside of you. And unfortunately, these folks have crushed that ignition, that fire.
Disney spent billions to acquire Star Wars and Marvel and Indiana Jones. Then they spent billions ruining those franchises. And now they're about to spend billions trying to create something new when they had it all along and they screwed it up. It's 7:44. Let's give you some details on that story I just revealed to you. This has happened and developed over the course of the last hour. FBI agents showed up at John Bolton's Bethesda home early this morning as let's call it a raid, although I think that might be an overused term. As the operation ensued, Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, posted on the X platform simply, "No one is beyond the law." We are told through New York Post reporting that Director Patel personally authorized this raid on Mr. Bolton's home, Ambassador Bolton's home. To remind you of the backstory here, in September of 2020, the Justice Department under Bill Barr and President Trump's administration launched a criminal investigation into whether Bolton illegally disclosed classified information in his memoir, his book, The Room Where It Happened, which sort of revealed his 2 months in the Trump administration or however long he was in there. They convened a grand jury. They subpoenaed the publisher, Simon & Schuster. This was an ongoing investigation. When Biden became president, the investigation was dropped. So now this might be a renewal of that investigation over Bolton's alleged mishandling of classified information. Here's how Fox News just reported the story about 10 minutes ago.
The probe dropped when Joe Biden became president. So is this picking up where that left off, David?
It's possible. I don't know with 100% certainty, but it is notable, guys, that John Bolton, Ambassador Bolton's security clearances were stripped earlier this year by President Trump. Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, took that security clearance away. They had concerns. The administration had concerns about Ambassador Bolton still being able to access some of these documents and have some of those security clearances. It's also notable that John Bolton had a security detail as well. Because of the threats from Iran on his life, that security detail, that government federal paid security detail, was also taken away by President Trump.
Yeah, but John Bolton, obviously an outspoken critic of President Trump as well.
Yeah.
In fact, just recently he was on CNN, asked if President Trump deserved any credit for any of the peace deals, and John Bolton said flatly no credit at all for any of the peace deals.
Wow.
Listen, if he has classified documents in his possession, that's a federal crime. He shouldn't have any classified documents in his possession. So we shall see what comes of that, Patrice Onwuka. Interesting.
That's big breaking news, Larry.
Yeah, it is. We'll see what happens next. Once again, FBI Director Kash Patel posting, "No one is above the law. FBI agents on mission." And that was it for that cryptic post. 7:53.